Thank you, friends and family, for coming to another night with Behind Black Business. Um, and we have Carey Williams, who is a photographer. And he is going to be talking to us tonight about photography. I want to apologize for us being late, but we did have some technical difficulties, but we did not give up, and we wanted to continue to do this and bring this wonderful person to you today. As you know, at Repair, Restore, and Grow Black Communities, we are a nonprofit organization, and we are working to help circulate dollars within our community by uplifting and increasing the awareness of Black businesses here in the Chicago area. And we do have many Black businesses, we have many entrepreneurs, and we're bringing as many of them as we can to you every Wednesday night from 8 to 9 p.m. As you also know, we have been on a campaign to address the issues of our Black bookstores. We support our Black bookstores. We once had 22 Black bookstores in the Chicago area. Now we have 4. We have Frontline in Hyde Park, the Underground on East 87th Street. There is Semicolon on Division, and Afriware, which we always include, even though she's in Maywood. She has her tentacles all over Chicago. And then there is a new bookstore that we have discovered called Soulful Chicago, which is located on 18th Street near Ashland. And we will be having Soulful Chicago on our podcast. We have launched a campaign to continue the support of Frontline. Frontline was faced with an eviction, but we seem to be able to work some things out here with Frontline so that they will be able to remain at their location. Our last event with Maggie Brown and Bobby Irvin was very successful. And we also have 4 more events coming in through the month of June. Every Saturday between 1 and 3, we will have an event at the Frontline Bookstore. We have a poet this Saturday, Pierre, and then the next Saturday we will have Dr. Vincent Johnson, who is a medical doctor. He's a internal medicine specialist and pediatrician, but he has written children's books. And then we have Asada Kirkland, who is a metaverse entrepreneur and author, and she's also the founder of Soulful Chicago's book fair. And the last Saturday, Mama Edie, an internationally well-known, very talented storyteller. So we want to thank you very much for all of your support, and ask for your continued support. So tonight we have Carey Williams. And Carey, I want to thank you very much for coming tonight.
Okay, my pleasure. My pleasure for being with you guys this evening.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Carey is a photographer. So Carey, first of all, let's tell us a little bit about who you are. If you are from Chicago, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm born and bred in Chicago. Been here all my life. I attended Chicago Vocational High School. I'm a product of vocational training. I'm an award-winning photographer. I've also done motion picture equipment sales, commercial photography equipment sales. My pictures have appeared in the Chicago Sun-Times. My pictures have been in Chicago Tribune, Chicago Defender, Citizens newspapers, and various other publications, too numerous to mention. I'm very passionate about what I do, and I've been blessed to be able to make a living all my life in the photographic arena. If it's not selling equipment, it's taking pictures and things of that sort. You have any questions?
Yes. What influenced you to become a photographer? I know you said you went to Chicago Vocational High School, and I know they had a studio uh, at CVS, or what we would call them CVS High School. They had a lot of different vocations there. Were you involved with the studio that was there at the school?
Well, actually, I was. I was actually probably the only kid that was able to walk to school anytime I wanted without being in class because I had so many passes. I was the yearbook photographer for the yearbook.
Mhm.
I was the photographer for the school newspaper, and I
Mhm.
was the photographer for the football team and the basketball team.
Oh,
So my
wow.
job was so I covered basically all gambits in the area. I also had a key to the school dark room. You know, I used to stay out the hours up to 6 o'clock or 6:30 in the evening, working in the dark room on various projects in the school, as well as traveling around to all the football games, taking pictures with motion picture cameras as well as video camera equipment. But my past actually starts way before then. My mother was back in the 50s. She was the first Black woman to have a scholarship to the Art Institute in Chicago. So she actually made history. My dad actually was in photography. So my mother was an artist and taught school, and my dad was a photographer, but he worked another job. But he's the one that. So I'm a combination of two creative people that came together, and here I am. Basically, my dad really got me started back in the early '60s. I used to watch him develop film and print pictures on the kitchen room and at night on the kitchen table. It would be
Mhm.
after dark, close all the windows at night, and I would actually be amazed watching him make photographic prints, black and white, to that point. Uh, Also, along the way, I was winning awards for my artwork in grammar school, winning awards for my artwork in high school, but I was a commercial art major at CVS High School, but I was utilizing the camera initially to take pictures of the things that I wanted to paint and draw.
Okay.
So, but I still do some artwork, but photography grew on me from that point on.
Okay.
And I just kind of moved forward from there. So it's been a labor of love. They say if you do something you love to do, you never work a day in your life. So that's
Absolutely.
right. So I'm very passionate about it, and I'm just blessed to be able to do that. I've also
Absolutely.
taught numerous workshops. I've taught workshops at the Croc Center on 119th Street, as well as numerous workshops in different areas, and as well as I've taught classes at Chicago State University in photography as well. I do various mentoring groups and programs, things of that sort.
Okay.
Okay,
Now,
anything?
it's interesting that you mentioned that you were drawing, that you were an artist. And I have had similar conversations with musicians who began to draw or use the learn how to draw and was connecting the drawing and the painting with the music. Actually, Robert Irvin the third, who produced Miles Davis's last albums, uh he was talking about, he was on our podcast, and he talked about how Miles encouraged them to draw because there was a connection between the drawing and the music. And so then when you talk about how you were drawing, and you used the photographs to help you draw. And then this carries over into the artistic realm of your photography. So it's interesting that you had that as a part of your experience.
Okay, yes. Now, something my dad always told me, you don't depend on anybody to create your existence. So he was always the type of guy coming up, he worked 2 or 3 jobs. He said,
Mhm.
son, boy, it's a 30-day cycle. You got to remember that. So he taught me how to survive,
Mhm.
but still doing what you wanted to do. So I took that training and applied it. Well, even though I love photography, I still got a 30-day cycle that I got to adhere to. Basically, at the time when I was coming up, photography was more or less could pay the bills over my artistic side of the business.
Mhm.
So that's where it kind of took off from there. So uh, doing various things. 1 month out of high school, I got a job in a photography studio. My last year of high school, I was actually hired by the Board of Education to do a mentoring program where I was actually getting paid in my senior year in high school to teach kids photography at the
Mhm.
B.O. Davis Center on 92nd and Jeffrey. So I would leave CVS, go down to B.O. Davis Center, actually teach young kids photography and got paid in my senior year of high school. Matter of fact, I was getting a board education check, looked just like the teachers in my
Wow.
last year of high school. Yes, I was. So,
Absolutely.
uh, so from that point, I was kind of already accomplishing the goal I was on the journey that I began at that time to create that 30-day cycle and still be able to do something that I love to do.
So you say that you mentored young people, other people, into becoming a photographer.
Yes.
What does that look like? How do you if someone wants to be a photographer, how does that start? What do
Well,
you Yeah, go ahead. I'll let you talk.
okay. Well, getting started, first off, you gotta have a passion of what you want to do. Okay. So I look at it like this: if you learn to do something, you are good at it, you'll never start. So basically, what I try to tell people, uh, this is a two-edged sword. You got to have the technical expertise, as well as have uh, good people skills. Because you're
Mhm.
in an industry where you got to learn how to sell and communicate for yourself. So you're more or less starting out with a good camera,
Mhm.
uh, tripod, and some basic things you're going to need to get started. Some good lighting equipment, flash, as well as still lighting equipment, a tripod, and a good camera. From that aspect, we're going to look at different areas that we can take this equipment that we have and turn it into a 30-day cash flow scenario by utilizing different markets that are out there which to get in. Probably one of the easiest way I try to tell people I teach in my class at Chicago State, I can get you paid in 7 days.
Mm.
So uh, right now, the hottest thing is online sales. I could open you an eBay. eBay is the fastest way to make money in photography for me. Anyway, I can take a picture of an item, put it on eBay, run a 7-day auction, collect my end of my money in 7 days. You can do this process over and over and over again. I've actually made quite a bit of money just selling things on eBay, just flipping stuff, going to the flea markets, bring it home, put it on bringing it into the studio, reshoot it, list it on eBay, and get paid in 7 days from your eBay sales. So I've done that quite a bit. I've generated a lot of income doing that. And it's the fastest way, I think, one of the other ways to get into photography. Right now, another market that's actually great is daycare centers. Kids need their pictures taken. That's a great area for upcoming photographers because a lot of the big studios are either closing up or they're going out of business. There's a lot of centers that are looking for skilled photographers to come out there and shoot the kids in these daycare centers. There's not enough photographers to handle the market in Chicago. It's a booming market. So if you just got to get up, do the research, you're going to find very little competition.
So now, in terms of, okay, so you're telling me about the opportunities for the markets, but anybody might say that they want to be a photographer. But what kind of skill level do you need in terms of taking pictures? Because I mean, anybody can take pictures, right? But when you look at certain pictures, you see different levels of skill and perception. So what is the training for developing your skill level?
I think the biggest thing you got to be concerned about is the understanding lighting. Lighting is critical in a good photograph. Understanding right now, everybody's walking around with a camera in their pocket. They have cell phones. And cell phones take basically pretty good darn pictures.
Yeah, they do.
You got a computer with a lens on it now, so it can figure all the other stuff out. So, but still, when you want to sell something online, the best things to sell online are the things that are just look really good and great lighting. So my secret, I would say, is to get you some lighting equipment and learn how to master lighting. And that is the key that's going to set you apart from everybody else in this industry.
So is this something that you teach in your classes, how to deal with different types of lighting?
Yes, I do. Not only can I teach you, I have an equipment dealership. So if you need to purchase anything, I can get the right equipment for you on a budget. You don't have to spend a lot of money. People think photography is an expensive industry, and it really isn't. So at that point, no, you do not spend. You got to sit down and understand the equipment, write stuff down, take pictures of your lighting setups, and just keep shooting pictures. Now, what's nice about it is the fact that it's more or less in a situation where if you can just take your time to go through that and get that done, then that is the key. Learning good lighting. Let me just keep it short.
So how much money would somebody have to initially invest? What would be an average amount of money, you say, to get a good camera? So would that be like a 35 millimeter camera, or are you suggesting that people use their cell phones? Or
well, I tell people when they get started, I have a lot of people, young people, I see them make the bad mistake. They'll go out and spend a real high-end camera. You know what I'm saying? Don't think about it like that. Think about what type of photography you want to do. Then that's the type of camera. I mean, you can get a decent camera at a pawn shop. I wouldn't say you want to do that, but pawn shops have good cameras. Or 2-lens kit from Walmart, Nikon. I prefer Nikon, to be truthful. Nikon has a 2-lens package. Canon has a 2-lens package you can pick up at Walmart. Get started with that. Learn how to use that camera. And as you get better in your photography, you want to go out there and buy a real high-end camera, then that's fine. But you don't have to utilize like all your money into one piece of equipment. Nikon has a camera that costs $8,000. Do I shoot with the $8,000 Nikon? No, because I can take that money and put it in a lot of other things, a good laptop or some good lighting equipment, some studio stands. And there's a lot of things you can do with that same amount of money. And what you want to do is you prefer, every time you shoot, you just take a little of your money, buy another piece of equipment. Buy something that you're going to need, not something that you want. We're not trying to keep up with the Joneses or anything like that. I like Nikon, and I'm just going to be frank with you. A lot of the minority photographers that I came up with in the early days of photography, and this is where racism might come into a little thing. In order to compete in this industry, the real photographers were shooting Nikon. Now, I talk to people today, and they're going to tell you, well, no. I said, no, because you had to compete with that other person out there who had Nikon. So if you wanted a lot of your photographers, John White, he's a Pulitzer Prize winning photographer for the Chicago Sun-Times, things like that. Gordon Parks that started out, Gordon Parks, these photographers started out using Nikon, so we had to compete while other minority counterparts. Okay? So anytime I talk to a photographer, I say, well, you're not old school, because if you knew old school, you had to understand why, black photographers had to buy Nikon over a Canon or anybody else. I had a art director told me one time, he said, Mr. Williams, your pictures aren't sharp enough. Shoot Nikon. So I didn't ever want to hear that ever again from an art director. So I went out there and shot Nikon, because that's what the other minority photographers were shooting. And you weren't looked at as a professional photographer unless you were shooting Nikon. So, a lot of your earlier black photographers that got into this industry and wanted to compete on the same level, well, that's the camera you had to use to show that you were equal in this industry.
So today, if you were talking to some young people or just some aspiring photographers, as you was asking earlier, how much would they have to spend on the average? What would they be looking at?
I would say out there, be ready to spend about $1,500.
Okay.
$1,500 would actually get you up and running on the tool to create your photographic toolbox to go out there to take on the various assignments. So camera, 2-lens camera package, some flash lighting kit, a still lighting kit for doing videos, a background stand support system so you can shoot on a background, a couple of backgrounds. About $1,500 to actually get you a very good start in this industry.
Okay. So when you're talking about photographers, you mentioned videos. You're not just I guess, and because of the technology today. Matter of fact, let me back up here. How would you compare photography 20, 30 years ago to photography today?
Well, I would probably say the biggest thing is two different things have changed the industry. The fact that now you have a camera that can do both. So if you got a digital single lens reflex camera, like a 35mm old school camera with interchangeable lenses, the new Nikons and the new Canons will shoot video within the same camera. Okay, so at that point, the only thing that's going to change, basically flash photography and video are utilizing the same lighting. Except when you're doing flash, the flash just pops and goes away. Well, video is continuous lighting. So basically, your lighting, your principles of lighting are pretty much the same. Okay, at that point. So you might want to change your video lighting a little bit, But again, you have enough money within that $1,500 to buy two good basic starter lighting kits to accommodate video as well as still photography.
So that would be, would you say, a significant difference? Like maybe 30, 40 years ago when people became a photographer, now you're in photography and you're in video more so. Would you say now than back then, or were people doing
Correct.
both back then?
Yeah. Back then, still images were much cheaper to do than video. Video was highly costly. It was a lot of minorities couldn't afford to do video, even though they had the principles behind them. You would have to spend $40,000 to $50,000 on an editing board to do video. A lot of minorities that have that access, or had that money to get into the industry because of that prohibited cost. Well, today that editing board that was $40,000, $50,000 is a $300 software. You see what I'm saying? So now that's changed. That's where everything changes. So now we have software versus a big editing board that kept a lot of the minorities out, the video aspect of the industry, because we could just not afford that equipment.
Okay. Okay. So actually, you were talking earlier about different opportunities for photographers. You mentioned, preschools. I know weddings are big, for photographers, but with you having the ability to not only take still pictures but to do videos, I would think that has broadened the opportunities for photographers in terms of filming. And so what are some of the many different areas or contexts that you have done photography in?
Okay, well, I've actually do what we call stock photography. Stock photography is when there's a publication that I've been actually, this is where reading is fundamental. There's a book that I started reading in 1988 called A Stock Photographer's Market. Now, this book is actually about, started out about an inch thick. And basically what you had to do is it shows different areas that are publications, magazines, that actually are looking to buy imagery to be put in publications. Okay, that could be anything from cookbooks to books on travel. This is a book that you would open up and read all these lists. There was 1,500 listings in this book. I've actually made thousands of dollars using this book. I started out using this book in 1988.
Can you, excuse me, can you let her know we can hear her? She's over talking you on the
Michelle, you over talking her. Can you go in the back, please? Okay. Yeah, so the stock photographer's market, is a publication that comes out every year, and it's used for it lists all the magazines in the United States, publications, art galleries, anybody that is looking to use photos for publication. So the thing, and that's where reading is really critical, because it's a really big, thick book. It's about 1,500 listings. I would just sit down with a cup of coffee, notepad, and go through this publication and pick out companies I wanted to contact and submit my photography work to. So and I've actually made thousands of dollars using the book. And this is where the reading thing comes in at. Because these markets exist, but enough people don't utilize reading or researching to create that income. But if you want to start out, it's a great book to get started in. Learning how to make money in, learning the principles of photography, as far as copyright, who owns the right to the photograph, things of that sort. Everything is listed in the book. They didn't make one last year because of the pandemic. The last year I have is the 2018. They didn't do the 2019, but it's a good publication to pick up and learn how to utilize using it, because you can make contacts and making money. Right now, I'm talking to a young lady. She has a black art gallery down in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
She's in the book. You know, they're looking for black orientated photography for publications and things of that sort. It's in the book. So that's where reading and comprehension is important.
Now I noticed with just like for ourselves as our organization, there are times when we've wanted to find pictures, or even on my job, I might be looking for a certain picture, and you can go on the stock online. You can pull up with pictures that you're looking for, and this company called Stock shows up, and you may be looking a picture. Let's say you want a picture of two little girls, or you want a picture of a person, in a boat, and all these pictures will show up, and you may want a picture of black children in a boat, and all of these pictures will show up, and then there is a charge. There are some that are free, but then there's a charge for most of those pictures that you would have to pay to use them.
That's correct. That's how the stock photography industry works.
How does stock work? Okay.
That's how it works.
Okay.
So, but another thing is, right now, there are companies that actually will tell you they're going to you send them the pictures, they put them on their stock photography page, people buy the pictures, but it's not really a fair exchange because they take so much out for that. I had a photographer, there was a story about a photographer who actually had a picture of he shot a picture of a landscape scene. He sold it to the agency. He put his picture onto this agency stock photographer's site. Somebody bought the picture, and the stock photography agency paid the guy $75. That's what he got, $75 for the use of that picture. Mm-hmm. And he went out, and he was out somewhere at a store, and his picture was being mass produced for some wall hanging art at Walmart or somewhere. But what had happened was the person that had bought his picture was making thousands and thousands of dollars on reproductions off of his photograph, where he initially got $75 up front. And that's what kind of makes the industry bad. You know what I'm saying? Okay. A lot of photographers don't really like to, because now here's somebody that took the rights to your picture, and they're making thousands and thousands of dollars, and you only made $75. So that's kind of frowned upon. There's a little gray area in that today, and a lot of photographers, a lot of the younger guys starting out are doing that, but on the more seasoned professionals, they would rather deal directly with the photo buyer themselves and negotiate their own terms and contracts.
Absolutely. Because I notice a lot of people, even with paintings, they'll just take a picture of it with their cell phone and then take it and get it, enhanced.
Like lithographs. Yeah, and I'll say artists have that situation because, a painting is an original. And you can't just But what artists will do is they'll go out and have a professional lithograph made. So what they'll do is they're going to hire me, a photographer, not their cell phone, but they're going to hire a real photographer. 'Cause I've shot quite a few artists' work that they turned them into lithographs to be sold mass produced. Okay. And that's another reason to learn photography, because I'm working with a couple of artists now. So, because that's where their industry is going. You know, graphic industry is changing. I mean, you can turn pictures into wallpaper or framed artwork or fabric or whatever you want to do. So, a lot of artists are now shooting pictures on digital single lens reflex cameras in a high resolution to have them reproduced into lithographs so they can do mass sales.
Okay. Now, what is your take on black and white versus the color pictures? You know, the ones that are color, because you know, it used to just be black and white, right?
Pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much. Well, you know, what's changed that is, I would say again, is digital, because now we're looking at more color photographs over black and white. Now, I still will shoot digital photograph and print them black and white, because I just love black and white. You know, I think it's more dramatic and things like that. So, yeah, a lot of photographers are they're starting out shooting, but color is more acceptable at the time. When you went to a gallery setting years ago, you saw a lot of black and white photos. Today, digital has changed that, because I'm seeing a lot more color photos, but a lot of photographers are still shooting and changing their images and printing in black and white.
Okay. Yeah, I like black and white. I mean, I actually like to watch the black and white movies even. I think it leaves more to your own imagination. You know, you have to project more of yourself into the picture.
Right, you do. Well, black and white is moody. It creates a mood. You know, I mean, it creates a little bit more drama. So depending on the subject matter, black and white can be very intriguing, you know, to shoot.
Okay. So how is photography for Black people? You know, how are we faring in comparison to other ethnic groups? The whole issue of, you know, racism and all of that. Where are we in the scheme of things in the world of photography?
Well, we're doing more. You know, we're doing more. I'm working with a group of Black photographers in Chicago, and we sit down and we talk about different things, and we try to go through each other's work. But right now, I'm finding a lot of people are doing it, but I don't see a lot of Black people doing it like they used to be, more or less.
Okay. Because I know most of the time when I see a photographer, like I said, it's at a wedding. They've been hired to take all of the pictures for a wedding. Or maybe you go to an event, a club or whatever, and they want to take pictures of people, you know, take you picture of you or you and another person, you know, at that event. I see a lot of that. And then, like you mentioned, the preschools, different venues, and then at graduations. So I guess we still do have a lot of events where people can take pictures. But then there's the artistic side of it too, where you're going out and you're taking pictures of landscape, or you're just out looking for different scenarios or different situations, different people to take pictures of.
Well, my thing is I like to document Black history being made. So it's times I'll just show up in an event because I might believe in that event, or I might think that event has a historical significance for somebody to be there documenting this event for our posterity. You know, a lot of times there's so much negativity in the news going on, but there's a tremendous amount of Black positive things that are out here that nobody's actually documenting. The only time we hear about things is on the news, or somebody has shot this and shot that, but nobody's talking about the food giveaways, or there might be a group of Black people out to help the homeless and things like that. We need to go out and document that type of stuff. We need to document more positive stuff in our community to keep our community enriched and moving forward with more positive things like that. So I think me as a photographer, if I see something going on, I'm not waiting on a client. I say, I need to document this because this has a historical point, you know. I went to Canada with Dr. Margaret Burroughs. I was actually hired to do it, but it was doing it before she passed away. So we followed the route of the Underground Railroad all the way from Chicago, all the way up through Michigan, from Benton Harbor to Grand Rapids, up to Detroit. We crossed over into Canada, and I documented this whole trip with Dr. Margaret Burroughs. And it was just it was one of the most fascinating things I've done in my life. And because when I went to Canada, I was amazed at all the Black historical sites, like Uncle Tom's Cabin. They got a whole site in Canada built around Uncle Tom, a whole museum about this Black man up in Canada. Things like that. There was a town in Canada called Buxton, that's right outside of Windsor, where it was a whole town that Canada had gave to runaway slaves to build their own city, their own town, and free land. So I had the opportunity to go up there, and I learned a lot about our history, and I was just amazed about how much Black history exists up in Canada. You wouldn't think about it. So I've got pictures, and some of those pictures actually ended up in the years ago when I did the trip, ended up in the Defender. And I had some of the pictures end up in a gallery that I was down, Dr. Margaret Burroughs Gallery down in Bronzeville. I had an exhibit there. But there's things like that that we need to understand. We can't wait for somebody else to document our history. We got to start controlling our history. We have a lot of history that's been suppressed and hidden because of racism and things like that. Exactly. We got to understand that. So after I came back from Canada, I was ready to leave the United States. I could not believe all the Black people up in Canada. They were nice. And, even the white people, they were really nice. I mean, it was just like I was living in a third world country. I was ready to leave here. So, I mean, those are the type of things that are important that we learn, that we can learn through the eye of the camera that tells a story of a history that we don't get in books. So I believe it's like it's up to us as Black photographers and filmmakers to bring that to the forefront. Let us know what's really going on.
Absolutely. I mean, you play a vital role, just like our authors tell our story, our musicians tell our story, give a voice to our struggles and how we're feeling and what we're experiencing. And they say, there's an old saying that a picture is worth 1,000 words.
Absolutely.
And I can't say how many times, my mother goes through our old pictures that my grandparents have. And we talk about people and we talk about the times, and it reminds you of certain things that happen. And it's euphoric, and it's enlightening. And we need the photography is very vital.
Yes, it
Very
is.
vital
Yes, it is.
to our community. And like you say, knowing our history and knowing who we are and following our journey. Because, nowadays, the way people look at us is like we have no culture, you know.
Correct.
But when
Yes.
when when you look at what the work that our photographers do and our musicians do and our writers do, we do have a culture.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do have a culture. But as long as we have somebody else trying to teach us our culture,
Mm-hmm.
we got to learn to take control and utilize research, document, and inspire our people. We've
Mm-hmm.
done some amazing things, but all
Absolutely.
of that is being suppressed because it's just not getting out there. Like the trip to, I mean, I was just blown away when I went to Canada. Nobody had told me we had all these
Mm-hmm.
Black historical museums and things up in Canada, you know.
That's right.
So, I didn't even know that until I went on this trip and started taking pictures and talking to people.
There was an
So,
exhibit on the lynchings that I saw in Detroit, and it was a room, a large, very large room, and there was nothing but pictures, photographs of Black people that had been lynched in this country, and it was
well,
so impactful. And I
yes,
think they wanted to bring it here, but there were some groups or entities that didn't want it to come here, because they don't want to, they don't want to face that. They don't want to acknowledge that. They don't want to talk about it. But it
absolutely,
happened. It happened, and
absolutely,
it's had a traumatic impact on who we are today, the things that we do today, and our
absolutely,
relationships with people in this country. So those photographs are so important. So, and I'm happy to hear that you are teaching classes and you are mentoring our young people to do this work, because it's very important. And
yes,
so
it
I
is.
want I want to commend you for that.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Now, if there's a couple other questions I want to ask because we're getting to the top of the hour. But if someone were looking for a photographer, what kind of what kind of questions should they ask, or what kind of things should they look for? You know, when you're going to hire a photographer.
Well, try to learn. Be ready to discuss what you really want to do with that photography. Have somewhat of a lesson plan. Be able to communicate effectively. Try to see what their history would be, and if the person's passionate enough,
Hmm.
to understand your vision. You want a person that you can sit down and talk to, and to understand your vision and what they're trying to get out of the assignment. It's like
Hmm.
talking to an art director before we place an ad or something. An art director might have his vision, and it's up to you to kind of understand what they have to go through to achieve your vision. So
Hmm.
choose the photography. I would say more or less try to show some samples of the work. Have them bring the work in. Look and discuss the type of job that you might want them to do. Their technical expertise, uh, personality. I think in this industry, the personality goes a long way. It's not all cameras and lenses. As you got
Absolutely.
to have a people personality to deal with people, to understand conceptual things, or your art directorship, or what you're trying to achieve.
Great, great. Well, Carey, this has been a very interesting journey in terms of learning about photography and the information that you have imparted. And if someone wanted to, well, I'm going to let you wrap this up first of all. And then I want you to let the listeners know how they can get in contact with you at the end of your conversation here.
Okay. Well, if anybody's interested, I'm at Space Age Marketing, 425 East 75th Street in Chicago. We're a digital print shop and photography studio. So we're dealing with all types of visual communications. You can reach me there, or you can hit me on my phone at 773-530-4180. Or you can reach me by email at Carey, C-A-R-E-Y. I'm sorry, guys. Photos by Carey. Photos, Photos, B-Y, Carey, C-A-R-E-Y, 29@gmail.com. Direct link phone, 773-530-4180. I do teach classes and give part-time lessons. Feel free to give me a call, or if you want to discuss something. I also have an equipment dealership. The only minority person in this city right now with that. I'm not putting that out there too far, but I'm able to get equipment. Again, if you need to get up and running, you don't have to spend a ton of money. I can walk you through and show you how to spend your money wisely so you won't overspend. I think that's the first mistake a lot of young photographers make. They go out there and buy all this really high-end stuff and don't know what they're doing with it, instead of just buying equipment and using a few pieces at a time. And as you do more, you buy a little bit more equipment. You do more, you buy a little bit more equipment. And that's the way to really do it.
Okay, that's excellent. That's excellent. Well, I want you to keep up the good work. I have seen some of your work. You do wonderful work. And, I'm sure you're going to continue down that road. And like I said, I am so happy that you're taking what you have and you're sharing it, and you're giving back, and you're passing it on to our youth, because that's what we have to do. Our youth are our future. And so
Correct.
I want to thank you. I want to thank you for what you're doing, and I want to thank you for being a part of this podcast. And again, to the listening audience, please continue to support our bookstores. Please continue to support Frontline Bookstore. And as I mentioned earlier, we have 4 events coming up for this month. Every Saturday from 1 to 3, there will be an author, there will be a poet, there will be a storyteller at Frontline Bookstore. So we're asking that you come and support Frontline Books. And our book of the month is Black Wall Street by Hannibal Johnson. So all you have to do is subscribe to our website to become a winner of our book giveaway. We give a book away every month, no strings attached. We pull your name, you get the book, we send it to you, because we know that our change starts with the mind. And so we have to read. And with people out here like Carey, we have our story to tell in our pictures. And so I want to thank you again, and want everybody to have a good night.